Good evening and welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all North and South Carolina students, sponsored by the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admission Officers, or CACRAO, and StriveScan. We thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping items before we get started. You can utilize the Q&A button on your screen to type questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening through this partnership with CACRAO and StriveScan, so feel free to check out the full offerings on their website at cacrao.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week after it has concluded on the CACRAO website. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenters so that they can begin their session.
Perfect. Hey guys, how are you? We're just going to share some screens with you and kind of get started and make sure you're in the right session. Always a good kind of check. So as that loads, my name is Amanda Platt. I work with Lander University. So you are in How to Find Your Fit, kind of a little bit like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. How does the college search process help you find what you're comfortable with? So we'll just get in and tell you a little bit about who we are and where we work, and then we'll get more into how to find that fit. So Lander University. So we are a small town with a big city feel is what we like to say. We're in Greenwood, South Carolina. If you're not that familiar with the state of South Carolina, if you know where Greenville, South Carolina is, we're an hour south of that, about 2.5 hours from Charlotte, just for anybody who's in North Carolina to give you some placement there. So Lander University, we're about 3,500 students. With our undergraduate number, we're at 3,200 students. So about the same size as a couple of the other schools that are on the panel with us. We typically see a freshman coming in with about an average GPA of a 3.4. So that doesn't mean that's what's required. That's just our average. Because we are about 3,200 undergrad, we typically see that student to faculty ratio is about 16:1. So they definitely know like who you are, what you're interested in, and how to go from 4 years to career and kind of what that looks like. We have more than 60 programs to study, but our most popular programs, our most by far is nursing. That's probably what we're best well known for. Education, business, psych, biology, and then exercise science. In that exercise science, there's athletic training, physical therapy, and occupational therapy. So it's quite a diverse program. We are part of the Peach Belt Conference. So we're NCAA Division II. We've got about 20 different teams there. Recently added wrestling, lacrosse, acrobatics and tumbling, there's another one, and rugby. So very diverse group of students and kind of all over the place where they come from. We get students from Pennsylvania to California and about 28 countries outside of the US. So if you are interested in applying, which I hope you are because you're on this panel, we have a priority scholarship deadline of having everything into us and a decision made before November 15th. If you are admitted after that date, we have other scholarship offers that we typically hand out in February and then later into the spring semester, but that first round would go out around Christmas. So kind of like the best gift you can give yourself during the holidays, possibly earning a scholarship. You'll see there are in-state and out-of-state tuition. That's our sticker price. We typically don't see any students come to us that pay that full sticker price. So you've got that coming in knowing that there's grants, loans, federal aid, and different types of scholarships. With that, we're always free. Our application doesn't cost anything. So we let you keep that $35 to $85 like in your pocket, put it towards something else. And for fall of 2021, we are test optional. So we're just gonna look at that high school transcript, what you've done over the 4 years, your GPA, possibly your class rank, if you've done any AP or dual enrollment, any CLEP or IB testing. We're gonna look at that as well. So you'll just submit that transcript, we'll review the application, make a decision. We're hoping our first round of admittance and acceptance packets go out hopefully by the end of September, beginning of October. So we're really excited about that. And then we'll talk more later about campus visit opportunities, but you'll see that listed there, the different types of ones that we offer. We have Virtual Tour Tuesday, where our tour guides kind of take you around and show you campus, which is really exciting to get it from their point of view. And then different events that we offer Saturdays, weekday tours, and things like that. So I think next up might be Professor Caroline, so we're gonna let her go next.
Hey guys, my name is Caroline Vanderpool, and I work at Gardner-Webb University. So Gardner-Webb is located in the booming metropolis of Bowling Springs, North Carolina. We are located directly between Charlotte and Asheville, about an hour from each of those major cities. We have about 3,500 students total. Our undergraduate population is roughly 2,000 students, which means your average class size is going to be about your average class size is 20 to 25, with the student to faculty ratio of about 13 to 1. For our freshman class, we're looking for an average GPA of about 3.5. Similar to Lander, we do have over 60 majors as well, with some of the biggest being nursing. We do have the oldest nursing school in the state of North Carolina with a 100% pass rate on the NCLEX. Business is a close second. Education, psychology, your pre-professional pathways, so your pre-med, pre-dental, pre-pharmacy, all of those. And we do have 22 Division I athletic teams, and we're in the Big South Conference. So we do participate at the highest level of NCAA athletics. Ultimately, we do have a vibrant Christian community across our campus, and we focus on the scripture from Mark 12, where Jesus compels his disciples to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. There's a plaque on every building of our campus that says that. So we really do try to stick to those 4 pillars. Our application, it's online, it's free, there is no essay. We are also test optional for fall of 2021, and we also have rolling admissions, which means that you're gonna apply, and about 2 weeks later, you know an admissions decision. And so hopefully in the next couple weeks, we can start getting those admissions decisions out. As soon as you are accepted, every student receives a merit-based scholarship. That amount is going to be dependent on your GPA and can be anywhere from $5,000 a year to $18,000 a year. If you're at the $18,000 level, that's like getting $72,000 because you're going to get it every year. We do have additional scholarship opportunities that if you meet the requirements upon acceptance, you will be notified about those as well. We will be talking about visits later, but one that I wanted to hit on real quick is our dog week. Typically we have dog day, but because of social distancing regulations, we've actually spread this across a week, and it's actually going to be next week. So if you like what you hear today or tonight or whenever you're watching this, definitely check that out. If you can't make that week in September, we're hopefully going to have another one in November. I mean, it's just a good day to come see Gardner-Webb and everything that we have to offer.
Awesome. Hey friends, my name is also Amanda Merritt. I'm from Lees-McCrae College. We are a little bit north of both Lander and Gardner-Webb. We're up in the mountains in Banner Elk, North Carolina, kind of on the North Carolina-Tennessee line. So if you're familiar with Boone or anywhere around Asheville, we're pretty close to both of those. Our motto is in the mountains, of the mountains, and for the mountains. And so throughout kind of my spiel about Lees-McCrae, if you will, you'll see a common theme. So we are a small private liberal arts school. We have about 1,000 students totally enrolled. So if you thrive in a small classroom environment, we're a great option for you. Just like Lander and Gardner-Webb, once you apply, there are multiple options for scholarships. With your admissions decision, you are receiving a notification of your academic merit scholarship as well. The average GPA of our freshman class this past year was a 3.5. So we do see GPAs of all ranges, but that's just the average of this past class. Your average class size, again, as I said, we're very small. So average class size is about 12 students, and then your student to faculty ratio is going to be 11 to 1. We do have 24 academic programs, and we have some very unique programs kind of playing off of that mountain theme. Wildlife biology and wildlife rehabilitation are our most popular. We're the only school in the Eastern United States with a rehabilitation center on our campus. We rehab about 1,800 animals every year, and those students get to work directly with our full-time vet and rehabilitation center coordinator. You'll do minor surgeries, anesthesia, and learn all about animal habitats and environments in those processes. We also have a pre-vet program if you want to continue in the animal sciences. And then outdoor recreation management, ski industry business, and cycling studies are all within our School of Business. If you're someone who wants to be a little more outdoorsy and have a career outside. And then we just added an exercise science program this past year. So exercise science, pre-physical therapy, nutrition, they all just got a $75,000 grant to renovate our exercise science and athletic training lab. So we're really excited about that program. We do have 19 Division II NCAA athletic teams. We also compete in USA Cycling. We have about 50 national championships in cycling alone. And then we have 2 club sports, skiing and snowboarding, and rock climbing as well. In terms of our application, we are also on rolling admission. We've started sending out admissions decision for the spring and fall 2021 classes. So once you complete your application online, you'll have a decision within 2 weeks, along with a decision about your academic merit scholarship as well. Sticking with the theme, you can see our visit opportunities here on this slide. We do have a virtual open house coming up next weekend. So we're really pushing this as kind of like a pre-open house. If you're kind of on the fence about Lees-McRae, don't know if it's something that you're looking for, join us at the virtual open house. You'll get to hear more about our programs, but also get to meet faculty and students. And then you're welcome to sign up for our open houses on campus in October and November as well.
So here's the question. How do you choose?
So first and foremost, academics matter. The sole reason you are going to college is to get an education. And so when you're first starting to look at schools, what I recommend that every person do is take a step back, take all the clubs out of it, take all of the sports out of it, take all of the fun activities out of it, and how are you going to succeed in the classroom? Is that going to be a small classroom? Is that going to be a big classroom? Is that going to be a classroom where you get personal attention? Is that going to be a classroom that you just sit there and watch a PowerPoint? So knowing your major, this is one of the biggest misconceptions, is knowing what you want to major in. It is very important that if you do not know what you want to major in, that you do pick a school that has multiple options for you. So to go to a school that has over 50, 60, 70 majors will really help in the way that you can try out different things. If you're not sure, take a psychology class and take a business class and take a biology class and just decide, is there something that really, really interests you? Second, college rigor. You get out of college what you put in. If you take the bare minimum level 100, 200 level courses, you aren't going to be challenged. And if that's what you want, that's okay. But if you want to be challenged, take the honors classes, get involved with the things outside of the classroom. If you're interested in sciences, look at schools that may have undergraduate research and ask questions about the undergraduate research. Their research, is it you're actually doing the research and your name's going to be on it? Or does it mean that you're cleaning the beakers? Ask the questions. Figure out what you are going to be doing in those. Study abroad opportunities, internship opportunities. Are you going to know your professors? At a lot of smaller institutions, Lees-McRae and Lander are probably in the same boat as us at Gardner-Webb. With your major, you're going to have an academic advisor. And that academic advisor is somebody that sees you on a daily basis. that knows what you're interested in. At a lot of bigger schools, your academic advisor is going to be somebody that you meet with once a semester, and they may not see you on a daily basis. So having those personal relationships. Lastly, instruction style. A little bit about my story. I knew that going into college, I needed to be able to ask my professors questions. I need to be able to raise my hand or go to their office at the end of the class or the end of the semester and just get my questions answered. So for me, I needed smaller classes. I needed that low faculty to student ratio. But other people learn perfectly well in classes that are large, that have the huge lecture style classes in the grand halls, and that is okay. Take a step back, know what you want in a classroom, because ultimately that is why you're there.
So in addition to academics, you can look at what the vibe of campus is like. Is it relaxed? Is it more of a community atmosphere? Is it a big campus? There's always something going on. There's always a buzz on campus. Location and setting are going to be a big deal for a lot of students. So like Lees-McRae is very rural. We have one stoplight in our town. For a lot of students from a metropolitan area, that's just not what they're looking for. That's not what they're used to. And it's okay to admit that. Look at the location of the schools that you're looking at. Campus size is another one. All three of us are in the small to mid-sized range, but there are many other schools that go all the way up to 60 and 70,000 students. If you want that big college buzz feel, something all the time going on, then maybe a larger state school is something that you're looking for. For other students, like I said, they thrive in a smaller classroom environment. Like Caroline said, they need to be able to talk to their faculty, and they need to be able to ask questions and not be scared to raise your hand in a classroom. And that's okay too. And then lastly, what does housing look like on campus? At some schools, you can only live on campus freshman year. At other schools, you're required to live on campus all 4 years. Lees-McRae, it's all 4 years. The school that I went to, I barely got housing sophomore year, but I was more than happy to move off campus. So either way, that's perfectly fine. So housing kind of ties in with the location. Where do you live on campus? How far away are you going to be from your classes? What kind of amenities are accessible to you? And then, as I said, what are the requirements for freshmen in terms of housing and then parking as well?
Yeah. All excellent points. So let's talk a little bit about what your social life might look like at college. We know you're there to study, but sometimes you need a break. You need to like decompress and make some new friends. I was very good at that at school. So what's your social scene look like? Do you want to go Greek? I'll tell you guys, I transferred schools 3 different times. And at the last school, I was a little older than like my other classmates. And I was like, Greek life, that's not for me. Needless to say, many years later, I'm an active alum in my Greek life, in my Greek chapter as an alum with what I do with the girls on the campus. So you never know. Go to an interest meeting for anything that you think you might be interested in, even if it's like, oh my gosh, that sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You never know. So if I hadn't had a friend that like kind of drug me along, I wouldn't have all the friends I have now. So semester studying abroad, is that something you're interested in? That was something I knew I wanted to do. So studying abroad was like an epic adventure. I did it for a summer semester. So you can do it for a whole fall or spring. You can do it for a week. Every campus is kind of different that way, but how does that build your social scene? Who do you get to meet? What is that experience like? And then the difference between, and Amanda kind of touched on it, choosing between small campus and like a Big Ten school. Is tailgating, is that your thing? You're like, I want to go to football games. We don't have football at Lander, so basketball for us. We do tailgate for basketball. And it's kind of cool. It's definitely colder weather to tailgate, but everybody looks cute in sweaters and boots, so it's totally fine. What's your campus diversity look like, right? So what different experiences are you going to have on campus that enrich your educational experience? Who are you in class with? Are you in class with, we had a tour guide. He was from Ireland. His name is Fergus. How appropriate. And he loved to play classical music. And he was from Ireland, and he just brought all of these different things that I never knew I'd get to meet someone from Ireland. As a student, as a staff member on campus, hearing about students from Zimbabwe and China and all the Northern versus Southern. You know, I was a Northern student and I became a Southern student. So different just opportunities to interact with students of very various backgrounds. It kind of clubs and orgs, right? So everybody has, I'm sure every campus does this. We kind of call it a get on board day. So within a week or two of classes starting, every campus organization, and sometimes the community members too, will have tables set up, and you just get a bunch of free stuff. Who doesn't love free food and free t-shirts, free cups, free koozies? But you get to meet all of these people on campus and find out what interests you. And if there isn't a club or org that like you're kind of really into at Lander, if you and 6 other friends want to start an anime club or a chess club, or those are 2 that we just started, by the way, so that's why they're fresh on the mind. You can start that with your friends, and that'll help you feel at home, right? So you're making connections, you're making friends, you're involved, and you're not just studying all the time. We know that's very important. But it's an atmosphere. It's giving you that feeling of home. So just a couple different ways to build on your social life. Clearly, I was not one of those people that was shy. So I kind of ran up to everybody all the time and was like, what do you do? Where are you from? What are you majoring in? Which is probably why we work in higher ed now, because we're not afraid to meet new people. But not everybody's like that. So hopefully a couple of these things will help you later on. So we'll talk a little bit about Instagram versus reality when it comes to doing your research. And all of us Amanda and Caroline and I are all going to kind of talk about this a little bit. But everybody is probably getting, and if you're not, you will be soon, packets of information from all kinds of schools that you probably didn't even know existed, wondered how they got your information. We won't tell you that. And so you're like, oh, it's so pretty. Look at the pillars. Look at the people. They look so happy. They're carrying books and it looks easy and they have Starbucks. Doing your campus visits from someone who used to plan visits, and I know Amanda, the other Amanda does that too, and Caroline's involved in her office. Like, it's so important, you guys, to do your campus visits. And we totally understand during COVID that it's really tricky to do that. Maybe you don't feel comfortable being around a whole bunch of people. So that's why you could do a daily tour or a virtual tour or a virtual open house. But doing those visits in person is, I say it's really important. It probably would have been a good idea for me for the first school that I went to if I had done a visit first, because that's why I ended up transferring. It just didn't feel right to me, but everything I got in the mail made it look fabulous. So we'll let the other 2 kind of like jump in there. And
yeah, most definitely. I think we all can agree that visit is the most important part of your college search. And right now it's difficult. You know, some of us are a little nervous about being in public, and some of us are like, get me out of this house, right? So we all are doing virtual and in-person visits. Right now, I have a lot of students requesting one-on-one Zooms with my ambassadors. So you're more than welcome to do that. Contact your admissions counselor at whatever school you're looking at and see what opportunities are available for you to visit or to meet a student, or just to get a feel for what that campus is like, because that's the most important part in your college search for sure.
Yeah, I can only build on what both of them just said. When I ask people why they chose Gardner-Webb, more times than not, it is when I came to visit, it just felt right. And I think everybody can say that at every college. Because while I love Gardner-Webb and I want all of you to be at Gardner-Webb, I also know that Gardner-Webb is not right for everybody. And so just to go and test it out, that's what's most important.
I'll challenge you guys, for the students and parents, if they're whoever's listening and watching, to kind of question your tour guide or your ambassador, whatever the school calls their student ambassadors. Maybe don't ask them why they chose it. Maybe ask them why they stayed. Because there's a lot of freshmen. We get retention questions all the time at universities, and what does that look like from freshman to sophomore year? And so I kind of challenge our tour guides to not so much answer that first question as to, this is why I stay at Lander. And just like Caroline said, it's not the right school for everybody. I totally agree. I want you to do visits. I want you to compare. I want you to leave one school and go to another and visit and go, ooh, gosh, like I really liked this, but I like this as well. I want that like minivan chat, right? I want you talking to your guardians or parents or friends. I want you posting things on Instagram about how excited you are to be a student at one of our schools or another one. Because that's what gets us excited. Like, and when I tell you guys, we miss seeing you in person, trust me, we miss seeing you in person. If you can't pick up on our energy through a Zoom call, I mean, that's so tricky for us, just like it is for you. And so, yeah, I mean, like doing your research and kind of asking. So we'll kind of move on to, how do you contact us, right? So we've wowed you, right? So how do you find out who we are if you have questions later on? So that's all of our, we can kind of leave this up, but I'm gonna see if anybody has any questions that we can answer for you, or.
Hey, Amanda, while we're waiting on questions to come in, can you jump back to the last slide really quickly?
Yeah.
I think one last thing to do before, or even in prep for scheduling these visits, is to really look introspectively. What were some of your favorite classes in high school? What are your favorite things to do outside of school? Think about your favorite teachers and what their teaching style was. Because those are all the things that make you thrive in college, that do make you stay. If you know what you like and you know what you're looking for, that visit is going to be even easier for you to kind of narrow down where you want to submit those applications and how to prioritize your schools, I guess.
I'll tell you guys something funny while we're waiting on Q&A. So like, I'm terrible at math, worst, awful. Clearly communication and media and speech and stuff was where I ended up. So going on to what Amanda's saying about, like, think about your classes. I picked business with an accounting emphasis as my first major. What was I thinking when I had the hardest time at math in high school? I mean, I took like bare minimum to like graduate and get out of there with that. And so you find yourself, you find what works and what doesn't. So don't be afraid either if you think that's what you're supposed to do and you find out kind of throughout that freshman year that it's not working for you. And Caroline kind of touched on it too, like that misconception that you have to know what you want to do. Even if you think you figured it out, it's okay to change your mind too. My mother was the proudest person at graduation 6 years later when I graduated with my undergrad degree. So it's okay. Like, things happen. I wouldn't say that you should go to college for 6 years, but sometimes things happen. So just listen to your gut, like Amanda said, and kind of like know that about yourself. So.
And I want to throw one more thing out there. Get to know your admissions counselor. We really do care. Otherwise, we're sitting at our desk all day long waiting for you to call when you're not going to call. So just call us. Talk to us. Let us get to know you. Let us get to know your family. And why is this so important? It's important because if the day comes that we need to advocate for you, whatever that may be, we know you. We know your story. We know where you're from. So don't be afraid to call, because really that is why we are here, is to serve you guys.
Yeah, totally. I only work with out-of-state student guys. So if you're from North Carolina, please let me know and holler, and I will help you. I'll Zoom with you. I can't say that I'll visit you right now, but I wish I could. So absolutely. So we'll kind of go back to this screen. Again, you guys, there's no dumb question, so you can literally ask, I'd say just about anything, but we probably answer it, so.
Why did you guys pick the schools that you went to?
Who wants to answer that first?
I feel like mine might be a little bit shorter than yours, Amanda.
I know, mine's a little complicated. I'll let somebody else answer that one.
So I came to Gardner Webb, and whenever I was touring schools, I actually have a sister that's a few years older than me, and so I did most of my college visits with her. And Gardner Webb was one place that she did not tour, and so really Gardner Webb was the only other place that I wanted to tour that I hadn't toured with her, and so I knew that I wanted a Christian atmosphere. I wanted that in my teachings. I wanted that in my everyday social life. So that was an important thing for me. But as I touched on earlier, the small classroom feel as well. And so when I stepped foot on Gardner Webb, on Gardner Webb's campus, I knew that it was the place. And to be 100% honest, Gardner Webb's the only school that I applied to. So I was in and I was done. And now I'm stuck in the web. So here we are.
So for me, I kind of did the exact opposite of everything I'm telling y'all to do. So don't be me. Luckily, it worked out for me. So I knew exactly what program I was looking for, and there were only 2 colleges in North Carolina that offered my program. And so those are the 2 schools that I applied to. I also lucked out because those 2 schools had a very large tailgate and athletic scene. I was an athlete in high school. I didn't compete in college athletics. I did some intramurals, but I will go all out for a tailgate, y'all. So I knew both of those things were very important to me when I was looking at school. And I went to a larger school. I went to a very small high school. And one, I just wanted to get out of the small school atmosphere, but I also wanted to push myself a little bit. Because I haven't always been an extrovert. I'm not always outgoing. I can't always communicate as well as Amanda Platt or Caroline do. So I wanted to push myself and be at a large school environment and get involved in a whole bunch of different clubs and activities. And the school I went to had over 100 clubs. So that was all very enticing to me when I was applying to colleges. And luckily I did my research and found my fit that way.
So I'll condense mine into a really short version. I also went to, so I'm from the North originally, was living in South Carolina at the time. So when it came time for me to choose a college, I kind of wanted to go back home. And home for me was back up north. So I was 10 hours away for my first 2 years, and thought that that's what I wanted, was to be away from, you know, I'm an adult. I also graduated high school a year early, so I wouldn't suggest that necessarily anymore, like these days. But I thought I was kind of too big for my britches, and I went 10 hours away. And I remember at the end of my first year looking up how to transfer. Waited until the end of my second year. I only went home twice in 2 years. So I ended up transferring. I'll tell you guys, I went to a school about the same size as Lander. And it's so funny. My mom graduated from there. She went there, obviously, she was a non-traditional student. She graduated from the same school that I did for my undergrad. And I won't lie, like sitting in the gym for her graduation, coming to do the tour, I did tour that time. I didn't tour the first time. So when I transferred to the third school and I started, it felt like that's where I was supposed to be. It felt very comfortable, very homey. I fell into my third major I was a sociology major transferring in, and they made us take interpersonal communications. Clearly that worked. I fell into that major and fell in love with everything that program had to offer. I also got very lucky in who my advisor was on campus. And I think that sometimes that's just part of the college experience too. But so I remember being in the graduation hall, watching my mom walk, and years later, me doing the same thing. And it was clearly, I'm gonna cry, very emotional and just like the best experience over 6 years. So you can make mistakes. I made lots of mistakes. I will say I have my master's now and I'm an associate director. So everything worked out for parents who are watching. My mom's very proud. But it was the right choice to kind of figure out what I wanted and how that was going to work for me. I also paid for college all by myself. So for parents who are paying for school, for kids who are watching and 6 years and degrees and things like that, yes. So it was on me to kind of make those decisions. But sorry, long story for why I chose my school, but it just felt like the right place, kind of where I ended up. Other questions?
I think you did hit the nail on the head, Amanda. The beauty of college is the ability to make mistakes. The ability to make mistakes in a safe environment that, within reason, the majority of your mistakes aren't permanent.
True, aren't permanent. To make knowledge before you start adulting. They're a little bit more permanent as an adult. So it is a very safe space and people have your back. I mean, I think about the friends and the faculty, and I'm sure all of our campuses are like this. The advisors that you find and people who are in your major that when you become like junior, senior level, they know what type of internship or job shadow opportunity or at least how to get your foot in the door for an interview. It's just a gold mine of goodness there that you just have to be open to. And it's a great experience. So clearly all of us would choose to do college again and again because we work in higher ed. So
yes, exactly. And if just to put in another note about getting to know your counselor, if you start practicing getting to know your counselors now, it'll be easier to approach your advisors and your faculty members once you're in college. We're not scary. We're not scary adults. We are here to help you. And we're here to make sure that you get into the college that you want to go to and that you are set up for success once you do get here. So that's my soapbox and now I'm done.
totally agree. If I had a sign that said same, I would hold it up right now. We'll kind of get out of this. It's still up there, guys. So if you have questions, you can still like write that down. I hope this was helpful. I guess for those of you who are watching and maybe you were taking notes, I even wrote something down that Caroline and Amanda said. So I'm going to steal that later for a presentation I have to give. But it's a lot of information. It can be a scary process. Don't let it freak you out. It's more fun than scary, I promise. In the end, you go to college. So enjoy the rest of, if you're doing virtual high school or hybrid high school or however that's going. And if you were like the other Amanda and you were an athlete and they're hopefully working with your season and you get to play something sometime with somebody, against somebody, I don't know. I too was a high school athlete, not in college, guys. So, but yeah, I mean, I hope the information was helpful.
Thanks for spending your Thursday night with us.
Yeah. And you guys, Caroline's a professor, so she really knows what she's talking about. I should have explained why I called her that earlier. So, I mean, she works with like actual students already in college all the time. So clearly she's someone that you want to take some notes from.
Do you guys want me to go ahead and end it?
Sure.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Once you close your window, there should be a quick survey that we would recommend that you fill out, as it will provide valuable feedback to both CACRAO and StriveScan. In addition, please feel free to look at the full listings of opportunities through sessions on CACRAO's website at cacrao.org. And lastly, a recording of this particular session will be made available on the same website, cacrao.org. We thank you for taking time out of your evenings to spend with us. Have a lovely night.